Next up, it is a privilege and an honor for us to have our appellate judge, 2 out of our 3 appellate judge candidates here. First up is Miss Judge Christine Walczyk.
Polk County Democrats, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Judge Christine Walczyk, and I am on your ballot in November for the North Carolina Court of Appeals for seat number 3. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Court of Appeals is our intermediate level appellate court. So these judges make critical decisions about workers' rights, housing rights, your right to parent and educate your children, and your right to vote. And what a lot of people don't know is that in 2023, they eliminated the automatic right to appeal to the Supreme Court. So most cases will end in the Court of Appeals. What that means is that even though we have got to get Justice Anita Earls elected to the Supreme Court, we cannot neglect the Court of Appeals for your trial judges. And these judges serve 8-year terms. So if you pick a bad one, they're going to be there for a minute. Now, I've been in the legal profession for 30 years. I have been a trial judge for 19 of those years in Wake County. And before that, I owned my own law firm with now Senator Lisa Grafstein. We started that firm in the 90s because we did not see ourselves as big corporate lawyers, and we wanted the freedom to represent the little guy and be a voice for the marginalized. So for over a decade, we represented employees, small family-run businesses, and indigent adults and juveniles that were charged with crimes. Now, one thing that trial judges get to see firsthand is how our laws are affecting our communities. And I'm aware that many people in my community have lost trust and confidence in the judiciary. And this is bad because the court system's sole source of power and authority comes from you. It comes from your belief in the institution and your belief in our rulings. And when we lose that faith and confidence, we are weaker as a system. And in this climate, I don't think that weakened courts are going to be able to safeguard our individual liberties. They're not going to be able to protect our democratic norms and traditions, and they're not going to be able to stop abuses of power. So we have got to be electing skilled and experienced judges that have the moral courage to safeguard your constitutional freedoms. I'm talking about the right to free speech, the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, access to public education, and the right to vote. Now, I've spent my career trying to support women in this profession, because I think women make good lawyers, and I think we make good judges. I've also tried really hard to ensure that we have equal access to justice for all North Carolinians. And that means in my county, trying to level the playing field for self-represented persons, because most people in Wake County cannot afford attorneys anymore. So I helped launch and I serve on the advisory council for our legal support center in Wake County. And this is an organization that matches people up with pro bono attorneys and legal resources. And they now have a call center. So even people here in Polk County can call that legal hand call center and get answers to your legal. You can't get legal advice, but they'll send you information and give you resources that you can use here in Polk County. So the last thing I've just been trying to do every day for 19 years is to show up every day with integrity as a judge that the public's going to be able to trust. And I want you all to know that your judicial slate is fighting to protect the rule of law and fighting to protect this vital institution. And make no mistake, it is under attack. This is going to be a battle over whether our courts remain independent institutions or whether they become synonymous with a political power machine. And we've got attacks from the legislature on the court, trying to take power away from judges and courts. You know, we've got dark money trying to buy judicial seats, and we've got people who politicize the courts for their own power and partisan gain. So I'm asking you to stand with your judicial candidates, because what we would like to do is build a stronger, more balanced court that has the ability to serve its essential purpose in keeping the other 2 political branches in check. And we want a more independent court that's free from the influence of politicians and the General Assembly. There's a lot of politicians running for judge in these times. My opponent ran for state political party chair in 2015. I just don't think we need more politicians on the court. And lastly, we want to build a more diverse court that better reflects the population that it serves. This Court of Appeals has 15 judges on it. There's only 3 seats up in 2026. Judge John Arrowwood is running for seat 1. You'll hear from Judge Hampson, who's running for re-election in seat 2. And I'm running for the open seat, which is seat 3. But if we don't do the work, we could wake up in November to a court with not a single Democrat on it. When I win this seat, I will be the only Democrat left on the 15-person court. And I know that you agree with me when I say Democratic women bring a unique perspective, and we deserve a seat at that table. So, the good news is these are statewide races that cannot be gerrymandered, but every single vote is going to count. These races are going to be won or lost by razor-thin margins. You'll remember that Chief Justice Sherry Beasley lost her election by 401 votes to Justice Mueller. Now, in a state with 100 counties, that is 4 votes per county. I know that all of you know more than 4 people that you can bring with you to the polls. And I hope when you bring them with you, you will convince them to finish the ballot. We had over 160,000 people in 2024 that voted in the presidential race that did not vote in the Supreme Court race. And if we had those 160,000 people voting in that race, we would not be scraping and fighting for 401 votes. So, what I want you to know from us is that we are invested in you. We understand that if your local candidates here in Polk County do not do well, then we are not going to do well statewide. And I hope that you are invested in us, because together we want to build the kind of court that's going to be better for all North Carolinians, and the kind of court that North Carolina needs. If you want to read more about my campaign, you can go to judgechristine.org. Everybody has asked you tonight for this, but it costs a tremendous amount of money to target the voters that we need to target to win these races, to print yard signs, to print palm cards. And if you are able to make a contribution, please go to judgechristine.org. If you want to help us by writing postcards or helping us organize events, you can also do that on the website. But I look forward to your questions, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Ted, are we doing questions?
Are we doing the last questions?
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
I was curious what your and Christine's thoughts were. What's the level of danger that we, the state and the nation, are facing right now? There's a broad spectrum of how worried we all are. I tend to be on the not quite as worried as some end of that spectrum, but I'm pretty worried. So I'm curious what you folks think, if you don't mind.
Well, with respect to the courts, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really positive about the courts. I can tell you we are driving all over the state. We're going to rural counties, we're going to urban counties, and people are turning out and turning up for our events, and they are interested in what we have to say about the courts. And I think the Democratic Party, traditionally, we've been behind the 8 ball in not, at least with the judicial races, not getting out into the communities and talking about why the courts are so important and talking about who we are as people and what our values are. I mean, the Republican Party has been doing that for a decade. And we are doing it now, and people are concerned about the courts, the politicization of the courts, and they want to stand up and protect the courts. And I think we're going to do great in November if we can get everybody to go all the way down the ballot. So that's how I feel.
I'm really concerned. And what bothers me, what makes me most concerned is what's going on at the state level with the Board of Elections and the auditor. That seems to me to be, I don't know what to do about it. And I'm worried that we'll elect. There will be all kinds of wonderful people voting for people like you. And it may be out of our hands. What do you have for me about that?
Well, that's a multi-layered question, but I think the number one thing that we can do is give ourselves a buffer. So it is going to be more difficult to vote in 2026. You know, mail-in ballots are going to be scrutinized, some votes might be thrown out, we need IDs. It's definitely going to be more difficult to vote. But if we can come out in massive numbers and finish our ballots, I mean, that's the number one thing we can do. We also, you know, if we can take back the legislature, they can make changes in the future about those kind of specific issues. The courts, you know, when people bring disputes to us about these kind of issues, about voting issues, you know, your courts will decide those issues, and so you're going to want judges on the board that are skilled and experienced and who know the law and who are going to protect your individual liberties, including your constitutional right to vote. So that's all I can tell you from my perspective, but there's a lot to be done in that area. And I think there is going to be some chaos in different local areas, and we're going to just have to show up and show out to give ourselves a buffer.
Judge, on that thread, there has been a lot of discussion to the thread of mail voting. Obviously, you mentioned that. Early voting. Apparently, those can be tossed out much easier than people showing up on election day. Is that pretty accurate, or would you say that that's unwarranted, an unwarranted threat?
Well, I think if you're connected, I mean, I can only tell you what we can do about it. I don't want to talk too much about what the threats are, but definitely it's going to be more difficult to vote. You are correct. There's changes that are being made on the local levels and on the statewide level. It's going to make it harder to vote. But there are hotline numbers that you can give to people. If you go to the Democratic Party website, they have hotline numbers you can call. So if you show up to vote and then you have a problem or they're telling you you can't, there's a hotline you can call. You know, there's going to be ways, and people are working on this. I know that Roy Cooper's coordinated campaign is working on these issues, and they are trying to make it easy for people who show up who are blocked to vote, so that there will be recourse when you go there. And you know, locally, every county is facing different issues. I mean, there's some counties where they don't have enough people working yet, and so it's probably going to be long lines. There's other counties that are moving early voting sites off campuses and things like that. So there's a lot going on, and that's just a localized issue. And in your county, you're just going to have to pay attention and observe what's going on. That's a great question. Thank you.
As a follow-up to Chris's question, one of my biggest concerns is National Presidential Memorandum number 7.
I don't know what number 7 is. You're going to tell me.
It came out in September 2025, and it's about authorizing the Department of Justice and the IRS to investigate radical, left-wing, Democrat or liberal organizations whose rhetoric might provoke political violence, and things that are anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-family values, anti-fascist, and it goes on and on, okay? Well, several people in this room, myself included, we are members of CMRAC, and I'm sure you know about them.
Yep.
Also indivisible, okay? So as legal professionals, what do you think our risk level is as members of these organizations as the National Presidential Memorandum 7 is put more and more into effect? It started this past weekend, as I read, where the State Department is now denying visas to people based upon their political ideology, their political speech, people that want to come visit the country.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question. It is a very important issue, and everywhere I go, people are concerned about that kind of thing, you know, the right to speech and the right to assemble. I can't answer that question for you. I couldn't have predicted a lot of the things that are happening now in this country. And I don't have the answers for which direction they're going to go in. All I can say is in my own little universe right here, my goal is in the state of North Carolina to make sure that we have judges that are focused on protecting our constitutional liberties. And if we can, you know, Judge Hampson will probably talk to you a little bit more about this, but there is a plan from the party to balance the courts back out. So if we can keep these 3 seats on the Court of Appeals, and then in 2028 there are 5 seats up, and if we can get those 5 seats that are currently held by Republicans, it will be a much more even, balanced court. And the same is true in the Supreme Court. So that's our goal here on the local level. I I'm trying to just, in my own universe, so I don't go nuts, just focus on what I can fix. And I'm sorry that I don't have that answer, but that's what I'm working on. And I think if we have judges that you're confident in to protect your liberties, we'll feel a little better.
Question, Randy?
Oh, sorry, I have the mic.
Mike, okay?
I just wanted to say about whoever asked about how worried to be. I just saw Ralph Nader's second impeachment symposium on YouTube, and I would advise everybody to look at the speakers there. His first symposium was in April, and again, there were some excellent speakers, particularly legal speakers. So I'm more interested in facts than emotion. And in both symposia, there are people speaking about the dangers of Trump not being impeached before the election, and of course, the Democratic establishment is totally against it. So just so you know, people, there are, and to me, for Ralph Nader to be concerned, I think is reason for us all to be concerned.
Thank you. I apologize for being late. We may have already covered this. I want to pivot a little bit and not talk about the danger, but just how to choose judges. Because it's unethical for a judge to tell us how a judge would rule in a case. And a lot of the things that we talk about are federal issues, and we're in a state. So we're dealing just with state, although we touch on constitutional issues. So every judge that's running says they're going to support fundamental rights and the Constitution of the United States and of the state. So I want to know, how am I to choose a judge? I'm an independent, so obviously I'm at a Democratic event. That may be the way I lean, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to get my vote. So how do I choose a judge?
So I would say, first of all, there's a lot of outfits out there that will provide information on both candidates, like 411, Vote 411, which is put out by the League of Women Voters. The State Board of Elections will have an online candidate questionnaire, and you can look at organizations that you align with, like, you know, if you're involved with the Sierra Club or the other places that endorse candidates, you will see, you know, what our values are. I think you're going to want skilled and experienced judges first and foremost. You want people who are able to do the job, and you want people whose values align with your values. You're right. I mean, we have to follow what the law is. We don't make law. We don't make budgeting decisions. We don't make policy decisions. But when disputes come to us, and, you know, if there's a situation where the legislative or executive branch are acting outside of their constitutional bounds, or they're not meeting their constitutional obligations, that's where we can step in and make decisions and ensure constitutional compliance. So I think you want to pick judges that are true to their oath, that are true to the ethical standards that they set for themselves, and you also want to be researching each judge to see, you know, what we've done. This is why I spend a little bit of time talking to you about the things that I've done to try to level the playing field for self-represented persons, to try to ensure equal access to, you know, work to support women in the profession. Those are my things, and if that, you know, resonates with you, then maybe you choose me. If you want to research my opponent and see what things, you know, he works on and what he's done in his career, then you would choose that person. I mean, that's the only way I'm going to do it. And, you know, North Carolina is in the minority in clinging to partisan races. There's only 8 states left in the nation that do it. Everybody else has moved to nonpartisan or some form of merit selection. I personally wish we weren't running in a partisan race, but I have to do it because this is the way that they set the rules up. So, you know, I agree with you, it's difficult, it's very difficult for the public, and this is why Judge Hampson and I are out here trying to let you know a little bit about us so you at least have some information to make a good decision.
And do you answer those questionnaires?
Yes. Yeah.
Because a lot of judges don't.
Yeah. I'm on for one and then the other ones, yes, I answer a lot of questionnaires. You can Google, probably find several. And you can also look at our endorsements and see who we're endorsed by, you know, and we have a list, I keep a list on the website, you can look at all those groups, and You could look at who's endorsing him and make some judgment calls based on that. Thank you.
Do you, over your years being a judge, have you seen judges getting bought off by rich people?
No, not like you mean like bribery? No.
Yeah, bribery.
No, but I will say, I acknowledge that the data shows that more than 50% of the population feels like the court favors the wealthy. And in a lot of ways, it does, because if you have an attorney, you're more able to manage all the complicated deadlines and procedural rules that we have. And if you're up against someone who has an attorney, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I acknowledge that, and that's why I've spent a lifetime trying to sort of level that playing field and make it easier for people who don't have attorneys to get access to the courts and to get fair representation, fair trials.